Are you struggling to update your Firebase SDK to version 4.0.0 using CocoaPods? You're not alone. Many developers face this issue, and today we're going to unravel the mystery behind it. I totally get how frustrating it can be when you're following the documentation step by step, yet nothing seems to change. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. You're definitely in the right place to find those pieces. Let's dive into the specific question at hand. One user asked, why isn't my CocoaPods updating Firebase to version 4.0.0? They provided their pod file and mentioned that even after running the install command, they still see the older version. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So, what could be causing this hiccup? It often boils down to a few common issues like outdated CocoaPods, incorrect pod file configurations, or even caching problems. We'll break it down step by step to get you back on track. And stick around. I have a crucial tip at the end that could save you a lot of headaches in the future. To begin resolving the issue, the user should first check their pod file to ensure that it specifies the correct version of Firebase. They can do this by updating the pod file to include the version number for Firebase. Next, the user should run the command to install the pods again. This will ensure that CocoaPods fetches the latest version specified in the pod file. After running the installation command, the user should check the output to confirm that Firebase version 4.0.0 is being installed. If it still shows an older version, there may be a caching issue. If the user still encounters issues, they can try clearing the CocoaPods cache. This can be done by running a specific command in the terminal. Finally, the user should run the installation command one more time to ensure that the latest version of Firebase is installed correctly. This should resolve the issue. Fun fact, did you know that CocoaPods was created to help developers manage dependencies more easily? It's like having a personal assistant for your code. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. One user faced the same issue and found a solution by changing the pod names in their pod file. Instead of using the older names like Firebase Core, they switched to the full names, such as Firebase Core and Firebase Remote Config, along with their specific versions. That's the end of that answer. Let's see another perspective. An alternative solution from another user suggests specifying the version of Firebase in your pod file. By adding the version number, like thosha 4.00 for each Firebase pod, the update to version 4.0 will succeed, and the correct functions will work in your project. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. An alternative solution suggests updating your pod file to specify a minimum platform version of iOS 10.0. This user also recommends using the command inhibit all warnings and defining a separate method for your pods. Next, check your CocoaPods version. If it's outdated, update it using sudo gem install CocoaPods. After updating, run pod install to install the latest Firebase SDK. That's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. One user shared an alternative solution for updating the Firebase SDK. They mentioned that if you're facing issues, you might be missing the Firebase Dynamic Link custom domains. To fix this, you should update your iOS project with the correct dynamic link configuration. They also provided an example of how to encode your target link for dynamic links. Make sure to encode your URL properly to ensure it works as expected. Here's that crucial tip I promised. Always keep your CocoaPods updated and regularly check your pod file for accuracy. This simple habit can save you a lot of time and frustration. And there you have it. With these steps, you should be able to update your Firebase SDK successfully. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks. And remember, keeping your development environment in check is key to smooth sailing.